Thank you very much, Marco. Yes, my name is Gijs. I'm working for the city of Rotterdam, famous for a very strong planning tradition. And my statement I'm beginning is stop planning. We did a research, Urban Unlimited did it for us to look into the role and function of free zones in a city. And it is in comparison between Brussels and Rotterdam. First we have to know what is happening to our cities. I think there are three dogmas. First is make the city a safe place, zero tolerance. Pim Fortuyn, and of course the war on terror gives a very strong focus and policy on everything which is not conventional, you have to extinguish it. And the second dogma is profile your city, seduce the elite by fancy projects. We are building it, for example, with the Minipia in Rotterdam, which has been used as a free zone, as a vibe lounge for different thinking people. It's a very good thing, but it really destroys the fabric of the city itself. There's the third dogma, let's make your city creative. Everybody knows Richard Florida, attractive creative class in the creative industry. What do they want? Actually, a very nice, safe, clean surrounding for the creative class to live in, and of course the creative industries. But it's all highbrow. We're focusing on highbrow. We put a lot of money in highbrow industries. There's a little paradox in this. By planning the creative, attractive, knowledge-intensive, prosperous city, we are killing the very essence that makes it unique. What is that? Melting pots of encounter, gatherings of dissenters, new ways of thinking, adventure, fermenting of creativity. Cities used to be a refuge for luck and asylum seekers, a place for the untouchables. If you look at the history of free zones, the farmer states in South Africa, people who start to build their own nation, the Katara in Montsegur. Those were the first cities where people who were not Christians or Christian way of thinking could develop their own way. The private islands in the Caribbean, and the maroon towns where slaves could have a refuge to go to. These were independent cities. More recently, we had the urban breeding grounds in the 70s, the squat movement. They really determined their own housing conditions. They took initiative, focused on collectivity and solidarity. Very much focused on social engagement. A very good example of this is Christianity, Copenhagen. Maybe everybody knows this. A very large area in the center of Copenhagen, which a community lives. They find their own rules, their own values. And the funny thing is that Christianity really produced some very innovative way of making things, like the bicycle. So what's the importance? What do we learn? First of all, free zones are the origins of urban culture. The expansion of states, protection of minorities. And actually, it made the renewal of the city itself. What I said about the refuge for people who didn't think like the normal people. Characteristics of free zones. Network of like-minded participants. That's more important than place. It's a very mobile group. Control avoidance. They want to be left alone. They want to define their own rules. And they are very focused on isolation and participation. So that's for us. We did the research. So we looked at Brussels, we looked at Rotterdam. Urban Unlimited made a very fast conclusion and said that Brussels is the place for free zone, the place for different thinkers. Why? Because the government of Brussels is not focused on the planning tradition. There is no planning in Brussels. We looked at the free zones in Brussels, it's very frequent. These are like a very small part of the total amount of free places. And you'll see they're all located in the center of Brussels. But if you know Brussels, it's a city which is not being directed. You know, there are 19 different local governments working and not cooperating together. So it leaves a lot of space like these for people to do their own thing without any control, without any subsidies from the government itself. These are the places where people have space, you know, and also mental place. This is another example from Brussels. You see Zone Libre. Brussels is very politically minded, free zones, the people working there, very focused on problems on the environment, problems on asylum seekers, etc. When we looked at Rotterdam, Rotterdam is much more economically focused. People like here, Foundation Band, it's about artists, it's about selling a product, it's about much more about startups. Not very ideologically focused, but much more economically focused. And actually in Rotterdam, a lot of places are being used with the cooperation of our local government. A good free zone in Rotterdam is actually the Pauluskerk. Everybody knows it maybe. Pauluskerk really focused on drug addicts and homeless people. And it has been a very thorn in the eye of Leefbaar Rotterdam. And after a big fight, Leefbaar Rotterdam really pushed them out of the center of the city. So Rotterdam is really focusing. This was a free zone. Schiecentrale, there was a group giving parties here on this place. After that my company bought it and transformed it into the Schiecentrale. Of course it is working, it's very good for economic development, it's very good for highbrow, but we have lost the lowbrow, we have lost the free zones. So what do you think? The misconception of urban planning. Creative environment do not spring from top-down measures. Real innovation comes from bottom-up. You cannot plan it. Free zones don't have a foothold for policy assessment. So if you give a subsidy to a free zone, you have to start giving regulations. And that's the one thing they really don't want. So we can encourage temporary or permanent portals. And we have tried to... Oh, yeah, let me proceed again. What can we do? We can guarantee niche space. We have to leave some places in the city, we have to leave it alone. Don't think about it. Because if we don't think about those niche spaces for free zones, they will go elsewhere. Like for example, Sealand or a place outside of the cities. And actually if you take a good look, we have already lost the free zone function as a city. Because it has already left outside. And I think there is still a very important group to think of. So thank you very much.